If you're watching this video, then most likely you too always dreamt of coming to the US, or even if you have never dreamt of coming to the US, or if you don't want to come here but someone is filing for you, or if you have to migrate here. I did myself recently and I am here to tell you what the experience is like. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. Alright, hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Johanna. Please don't leave without subscribing. I post a whole lot of videos about hot topics. I do a lot of reviews, makeup tutorials, and of course things that I experience. And I just experienced picking up my entire life in Jamaica and moving to the US. Now I'd like to share exactly what that experience is like. Let me start with telling you, basically just giving you a brief overview of why I migrated in the United States, why the filing process ended up starting for me. So when I was a little girl, kids always want to travel to the US. It's just an exciting place. Things that we see on television, all the things that we buy in the supermarkets, well, most of the things that we buy in the supermarkets that we have access to, it's usually shipped from a country like the US, and it's like the American dream, living the American dream. Fast forward to being a child, I kind of lost interest in coming to the US because I've been living in Jamaica and I really love living in Jamaica, or loved living in Jamaica, as I'm not living there anymore. But in 2000 and I think it was 8, I became pregnant with my first and only child. I wasn't that young. I was like 20 something, like 24, 25 or 26, somewhere thereabout. I don't remember. But my father just decided, you know, I'm filing for my daughter. But my father filed for myself and the unborn child. I told him that I was pregnant at like 3 months. I didn't know that you could do that. So if you didn't know too, you know now. Guys, the pricing of everything that we did, I don't remember everything. I don't remember, and whoever else helped me, which would be my father and whoever else, we don't remember either. But I'm just giving you a brief overview of what it is. I should say before I go any further into the video, ensure you have a lot of money. Not rich type of money, but a good thing to do. The moment your sponsor and your they don't say sponsor, they use another word, I just don't remember right now, but the moment your sponsor starts filing for you, I suggest you start saving. Your sponsor needs to save, the person who's been filed for needs to save. A lot of payments for application process, for the play tickets, everything it will just cost everybody involved. So save. Okay, so back into the whole process. So he filed for us in 2000. It wasn't 2008. I take that back. I became pregnant in 2008. I told him in 2009 when I was 3 months pregnant. So he filed for us, myself and the unborn child, in 2009. Right. Over the years, my father used to, like, probably every year or so, he used to call the US Immigration Visa Office, if that's the name that they go by, to just query, see how things are going. So you can call them, they keep you posted with everything up to date. They give you numbers, email addresses, everything, and they correspond with you strictly email. So if you're not an email person, you may want to get into that and get email savvy, because they are going to be corresponding with you via email only and solely. If you want to call them, you can call them and you'll get them to ask questions. So every year or so, my father would call and ask if you know, how's the process going, what's the status like, and so forth, and they would keep him posted and said, okay, move from this office to that office and it's being reviewed and so forth. In 2016, I got myself into a bit of mess and I had to go back to my homeland, which is Guyana, because I'm Guyanese, and I had to sort some stuff out. So because of that, my dad thought that, you know, he should call and find out what's happening, because he really wanted me to have the opportunity to come to the US. People call it opportunity, yes. And everyone in the family is traveling to the US and to other North America, to the US except me. and my son. So I did take my son. My sister encouraged me to take my son to get a visa while our application was being processed. I think that was like in 2015. I took my son, and when I went to the embassy, because we applied for the visa and everything, and when we went to the embassy, the guy looked at some information that they have on file for Dejan, that's my son's name, and he said, you know, miss, your father is filing. No, he said his grandfather is filing for him, and his dad lives here too, so you should just wait until the filing comes through. So if you're in that same situation, if someone filed for you and you want to go and try for the visa, there's a possibility they'll tell you the same thing too. That doesn't apply to everyone, because I have a friend who went for his visa while his mother was filing for him, and they gave him a visitor's visa. So I guess everyone's situation is different, and really and truly it really depends on the interviewer, because your faith of whether or not you're going to get this visitor's visa or whatever is always in the hands of the interviewer. So I didn't get that visitor's visa from my son. I wasn't disappointed or anything like that, because as he said, his grandfather is filing for him. He should just wait until the filing comes through. And fast forward back, let's go back to when I got myself in a bit of mess and I had to go back to Guyana. I went to Guyana in July of 2016, and that is when my dad had called to find out, you know, what's going on, what's up, and whatever else. He didn't actually call until I think it was like the September. It's really vague in my head, but I think it was the September. When he called, they said, you know, sir, the filing actually came through. We emailed you 3 months ago. I think it was like 3 or 2 months ago. And I was like, oh my gosh. So what actually ended up happening to my father is that he uses Hotmail, and then because he uses Android now, you know, when you have an Android, you just end up getting a Gmail address. So they were corresponding with him through his Gmail address, and he didn't really check his Gmail address. He was checking his Hotmail address. So when he went into his Gmail address, he realized that the US visa immigration services, or whatever you want to call them, did actually email him and said, oh, your filing has come through. It's time to start processing your documents, doing all this medical and all these things and blah blah blah, whatever else. So we were actually about 2 or 3 months late on that notification. Okay, so we got the ball rolling on getting the application process started. I had to sign into this website. I had to submit a whole lot of information, like exactly where I lived in my adult life, and they consider you an adult like anytime after like 16. So I had to submit all that information, and what they do, they kind of like try to trick you. So they ask you these questions over and over and over and over again in different ways, and they twist it up and they put it in all, they just, because they don't want you lying on your application. And if you lie, they want to ensure they catch you. Okay, so I wrote down a few things here that I should like talk about. I don't remember everything. It's real. I would have to like sit down, wait, like my dad and whoever else helped in trying to remember everything, and that's just like too much. So I'll just I have a list of things here. I'll just go through it, and if there's anything that I missed, if you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, you can comment in the description box down below. There's also a website that you could oh my gosh, oh, it's called Visa something. It's like a support group, like a chat group thing, where I didn't check it out, but my friend actually, she did that, and she actually told me about a lot of stuff in getting it done, especially when it came to getting my police record from my country of birth, because I didn't apply, or the process didn't happen when I was in Guyana. It happened when I was in Jamaica, and I'm Jamaican. I'm not a Jamaican citizen. I don't have a Jamaican passport. So let's start with the police record. So I had to do 2 police records because as I just mentioned, I'm not Jamaican, or I don't have a passport or anything, so I had to send back home for a police record. I got that done, and my aunt actually got it sorted out for me, and then she got it back to me in Jamaica. So I had to submit a Jamaican police record and a Guyanese police record, because at the time when I left Ghana, I was like 16. So of course you have to pay for the filing. There are different fees that you have to pay. I think in total, for each person, you'll pay an average of maybe, let's say, 600 to 800 US for everything, because there are these different steps that you have to take, and then every time you're done with a step, they ask you to make these payments. You also have to pay for your green card, and I'm going to talk about the whole green card and how it comes and when you get it in the mail when I get to that. So you pay for the filing, you pay for the initial process, your sponsor does that. Your sponsor also has to create this affidavit, and this financial record is a whole lot of documentation. So your sponsor on their end has to sit down and go through their financials, and then they have to submit it, because they want to ensure you're coming to the US not to struggle or to be left on the street. They want to know that your sponsor can afford to house you. So your sponsor has to have at least an income, a home to keep you, and all that jazz. So you need to bear that in mind. To start the process, I think it's about 120 US to start the process, and all the figures that I will mention here is just for one person. So if you're filing for like an entire family of 5 or so, you have to ensure you have like your savings down. Like, you have to ensure you can afford it. Okay, so there's the final payment. I think it's about $230 after everything is done. I did mention that before. You pay for your green card. I think we had to make 2 other payments for something else. I just don't remember what it is right now on the top of my head. But these are just the things that they just have you paying all these small fees. And in some countries you have to pay for a police record. It can be very expensive. In Jamaica, a police record is very expensive. It's not that expensive in Guyana. But I don't know if a police record is a cost in your country. After we did all of that, we submitted everything. I should mention that my son, because at the time, of course, I was just three months pregnant when my father filed for me, so the child didn't have a name. So when the process and when the filing came through, I had to put in, like, they would tell you, like, okay, the filing has come through for Johanna Denny and unknown. So my child was like unknown. So immediately when I put in his name and his passport information, all that jazz, they started identifying with Dejan instead of identifying with him as an unknown person. They actually started identifying with him by his name. Also, your passports need to be valid for, I think, more than 6 months, because the process takes a while. And also, I think they give you, I think it's 6 months, because the process, I think my father got the email July, so it'll be August, September, October, November, December, January. So yeah, I think they give you 6 or, guys, I swear my memory is that bad. I'm trying to remember if it's 6 or 8 months they give you to submit everything. So before those 6 months, I think it's 6 months, before those 6 months run out, you actually need to submit all your financial documents, everything, your medical. You need to do, well, not your medical, scrap that, no medical, but everything else, like your police record and all these things, you need to submit all of that before this 6 months time is up. If the 6 months time is up, you have to start the filing all over again. So you don't want to lapse or make time lapse or anything like that and let that time pass. Funny enough, I was literally dragging my feet. I'll be honest, in this video, I did not want to come to the US and live. Like, I always wanted to visit the US, of course, travel, but I didn't want to like live here. So I was like, I literally dragged my feet. Like, my father would ask me to like do this, and I waited until the last minute's notice to do everything, and I just did everything in my power to draw out the process as much as possible, and it just did not work like that. And now that I mentioned that, I'm remembering, everything is coming back to my memory now. Okay, so the filing, I think, came through in July of 2016, and then we started the process, and then after we submitted everything, I think it took about 3 months or so for them to respond to us and to tell us that it's time to go and do the medical. So I dragged my feet so much. I think it was in September, August, I think in August. So you have 2000 there, it's 2016. I think they gave us 9 months. Really, guys, I don't mean to confuse you, but I really think they gave us 9 months to like fill out everything and submit everything, and we did everything just before that time was up. I don't really feel too bad with the time and everything that I'm telling you about now, because these people are so precise, they're so detailed, they'll email you everything, they'll tell you how much time you have. And my memory is so bad, I just don't remember it's how much. I think it's 9 months. Is it a 6, 8 or 9 months? I don't remember that they give you to just submit everything. So I think in August of 2016, no, in August of 2000, fast forward, in August of 2017, that's exactly 1 year after the filing came through, they told us, okay, it's time to go to your medical. So we did the medical in September. I think it was September 3. Yeah, I think it was September 3. We had to go to the medical. We had to go to the place and do the medical. So let me tell you about the medical. They let you know about, they tell you where they want you to go and do the medical. You don't choose your institution. They gave you the institution and you can't go anywhere else. But for your immunization, you can go anywhere and get your immunization done. To get the medical done is pretty expensive. When I did the estimate of how much it would cost myself and my son, let's say example, we didn't get our immunizations done, period, and to get the medical done, it was an average of, between the two of us, 70,000 Jamaican dollars, which would work out just about 600 US. But we didn't spend all of that money because my son, I had to get most of the immunizations. My immunization card was not up to date, and my son, he got some, but I got the majority. So they will tell you how much you need to pay for the medical, and then they will tell you, okay, you need to walk with an additional, let's say we're in Jamaica, and I did in Jamaica, they say, oh, you need to walk with additional $20,000 for each person in case you need to get the immunization done. If I had known, my friend did tell me this, but I really didn't remember until after everything was over. The moment you hear that you're being filed for, you need to find the nearest clinic. It's cheaper that way. You won't have to pay $1. Go and get your immunizations done there, because if you don't do that, when it's time to do the medical, and you do if you have to do the immunization at the hospital or the institution that the embassy chooses, that the US immigration chooses, you will regret it financially. It's a lot of money. So ensure you do your immunizations independently, and then the medical can be done there. Okay, so for the medical, me and both my son, we had to do a blood test, urine test. He had to do an x-ray. I didn't do the x-ray. We had to do general examination. We had to do like an eye test. I think that's it. I didn't have to see like a gyno, thank God. Didn't see the need for that. So it took us like the entire day to get the medical done, because we got there pretty early. I think we got there at 9, and then we didn't leave there until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So ensure you know that you have to set aside an entire day to get your medical done. On the day of getting your medical, you won't be the only person that will be there. Like, it's a whole lot of people, like hundreds of people come on that day to get their medicals done. I did mention this before, but I want to talk about it in detail. I was a Guyanese living in Jamaica who did not have Jamaican citizenship or a Jamaican passport or Jamaican residency. I was just there on a regular, at the time my status was just normal. So my passport and my stay in Jamaica was going to expire, I think the October. So we did everything before my status would expire, my passport, that October. And they ask you all these questions, like they ask you which country you're presently residing in. So you don't necessarily have to go back to your country of birth if you don't have like certain amount of status in the country that you're presently in, so you don't have to worry about that. Let me talk about Trump. My filing came through unfortunately around the same time that Trump got his presidency, and a lot of people are saying, oh my gosh, you're not going to get it again because Trump don't want immigrants. And it was like people were just saying a whole lot of stuff. I wasn't worried basically because I wasn't in a rush to go anywhere, and everybody was like, you're not going to get through because Trump is going to change laws and all these things and whatever else. That is not true. That wasn't true at the time. I don't know what's happening now, but it was smooth sailing for me. Let me talk about the interview. Okay, so we did everything done. We got the medical and everything, and then when they do your medical, they don't give you your results. They send it directly to the embassy where you do your interview. We didn't do the medical in September. We did the medical in August. What we did in September was the interview. So I think we did the medical about 2 weeks before going to the interview. And guys, you have to go and do your medical like ASAP, because you cannot go to the interview without getting your medical done. So ensure you do that. Also, when we got to the interview, the embassy in Jamaica, how it's set up, of course you can't take your stuff inside. There are no locker rooms, anything like that. So if you're Jamaican, or if you're in Jamaica while you're being filed for, even if you're going for a regular visitor's visa to the American embassy, you cannot take any electronics, any liquid, nothing like that. There are these people standing outside the embassy. You can pay them like $500 to keep your stuff. I stayed at a hotel that time when I went. The time before, I paid someone to keep my stuff. You can trust people because it's their job to, you know, stay there every day and collect people's phones and so forth. So they give you a ticket number. It's just like a bag day. They give you a ticket number and everything, and you pay them, and when you come back out, your stuff are safe. So the time when I had to take my son for his visa, which he did not get, we did that. And then this time for the interview for our residency, the whole filing process, I stayed at the hotel. So I left my phone, everything at the hotel. I couldn't communicate any at all until even I had to call, ask the security at the booth after the interview was over for a taxi, to call a taxi to get us home, because I couldn't communicate any at all. So upon arrival of the interview, of course, the US Embassy, it's a very volatile area, so you can't take a lot of stuff with you. I think we got there, our appointment was like 7 o'clock, so it was a 7 o'clock appointment, and we went inside. A lot of people were there. On the day that I went, a lot of people were, there are two sections. There's a section for people whose residency was being filed for. There's a section for them, and then there's a section for people who just want a visitor's visa or a student visa or whatever else. So a lot of families were in our area at the time, a lot of husbands and wives, because, you know, a lot of people would pay people to file for them and all that jazz. They grill you like there's no tomorrow. I sat there and I watched so many people getting grilled, especially the couples. They asked them where they met. There was even this one guy who he didn't know his wife's birth date or anything, because, you know, a lot of these relationships are just like real quick. Like you meet someone like 2 months or 3 months ago, and then prior to that, and then fast forward, you're getting married, you know. So they have to ensure that the relationship is legitimate, because they don't want to just grant you a visa just like that. So they really grill you. When my time came, another thing I should mention, this I had to check out of the hotel at 12 o'clock. We got there from 7 o'clock. I think it was 11:15, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen if I don't get back to the hotel and check out our stuff? My phone is there, a whole lot of stuff are there for us and whatever else. So I spoke to security and I said, yo, you can't do something for me? You can't talk to the interviewer and say, you know, she have to go back to our hotel and check out him coming all the way from Mandeville, and you know, I don't want to jeopardize having to lose my stuff or whatever else, or having to pay for another night at the hotel because I didn't check out the time when I was supposed to check out, you know. And the security, I don't know who they talked to and whatever else, and like in minutes, literally, you heard my name call and everyone's like, oh, she going before me, yeah, whatever else. But you know, it's always good to ask questions. Another thing, don't be afraid. You know, even if someone is about to hurt you, or someone may seem like if they want to intimidate you, or you have an interview to do or whatever else. I personally hate interviews, especially when I don't know what the hell I'm going to say to you when you're interviewing me, like a job interview for a job that I have no clue about. I hate those type of interviews. But on this interview, I was pretty confident because I wasn't being dishonest about everything. Of course, he's my father. He raised us from birth up until, you know, we're adults and we can still depend on our father for stuff. So I wasn't fearful of anything. Like, I could answer everything about my father because he's my father and we have a relationship, right? So it's genuine. So after the security pulled out 2 strings and said, okay, you can go and get your interview done now. Before that time, they call you the first time, they take your fingerprints and they do some other stuff. I think they look through your documents. I think they look through your documents, like your medical and your stuff, because as I said before, the place that you did the medical, they send it to the embassy, right? So after we sat down, that is when it really became long. Like, you had to sit again and wait for your name to be called a second time, and that's the official interview. So we were interviewed by a female. She looked relatively young, and she asked me questions about my dad and who he lives with and so forth. Unfortunately, my stepmother died right when my filing came through, and you know, I told her my father is single. Well, he's not single, he's widowed now. What do you call a man whose wife is dead? Anyway, so I answered basic questions. It didn't take long because, as I said, he's my dad. I know exactly what I have to say about him, so it was a no-brainer. And she looked at my records that were sent over from the with the medical. You're gonna have to walk with some stuff. Like, I had to walk with my passport, your birth certificate, the police record that you did, like civil documents. I don't remember everything, but as I said, I am just giving you, this is just like a idea of what is going to happen because I don't recollect everything that happened. And after that, she was like, congratulations, Miss Denny, you have been granted US residency, blah 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 blah, and it's when you can travel and so forth. For those who know about the whole visa process, they take your passport from you and they say, okay, in X time, this is when you're going to get it. I think it took her like a week or less than 2 weeks. So you leave your passport at the embassy, day is over, and in about a week or 2, you get an email saying, okay, your passport has arrived at their official courier is DHL. Another thing I should mention, when you're signing up, when you're doing the initial process, there's the section that asks you, how would you like to have your passport back if you have been granted the whole residency thing or even a visa, right? So I did not know why I chose Kingston. I don't know why I chose Kingston, but I chose Kingston. But you can put in your exact address and they will get it to you. I did not choose that, so I had to go all the way to Kingston to get our passports. Another thing on the for persons who are looking at this video because you're being filed for to get residency or whatever else, they're going to specifically say, do not leave your job, do not sell your stuff, live life as though as how you are living it prior to finding out that you're going to live in the US. Only do that stuff until you get your passport back with your stamp in it or your visa in it. Listen, they don't play, because not because you're getting filed for to be a resident out here means it's guaranteed 100%. Anything can happen. You can mess up, anything can happen, and they can say, you know what, we're scrapping this, you can't come again. So literally within a week and a few days, or I don't remember, as usual, got an email saying, okay, your package is ready. You can pick it up from DHL. So because I had chose a pickup method, I had to go all the way to Kingston and get our passports. Upon getting the passport, you can travel immediately anytime after that, but they give you a timeline. Let's say I got my passport, I think it was late September or it was either mid-September or late September. I got my passport mid-September, and they stamped in my passport, or they printed in it, travel no later than January something. And for Dejan's passport, I think it was February or March 2018. So we had up until my passport had, I don't know why they put different dates because I'm his mother, right? But my passport had no later than January and his passport had no later than February. So you have to travel before those dates, or else all the work that you went through, everything in the passport, that stamp, everything becomes void. It's out the window. So you have to travel before that time. As I mentioned before, you have to ensure that your passport is valid for at least, I think, a year, because the process, of course, takes almost a year. And then by the time everything comes through, you have to ensure that your passport can still be traveled in. And you don't want your visa, of course, you don't want your visa to be put into a passport that you can't travel on. That won't make any sense. Okay, so we have the passports and now it was time to travel. We went online, and of course, if you know the whole process, how you look for a plane ticket, just regular, everything was just basic. You just got a passport. They also sent a document. I don't know what the hell is in the document because they didn't give it back to me. I didn't get to see in there, but they give you this document with all these things that you submitted initially, and I guess stuff that they would put in there too. It's a folder, and they specifically tell you not to open it. So that is when you pick up your passport, you pick up that document. So you're not supposed to open that folder, period. So we traveled October 13, and I think we used JetBlue. So we traveled, went to the airport, of course. We wrapped up all our stuff, did everything that we had to do, because of course you're going to the US to live. I think when you, let me talk about that after I'm done and talk about getting here. So upon getting to the airport, you book in, check in like normal. You're like normal traveling, so don't be afraid or anything like that. When you get to the US now, they put you in a different line. So you go into the general room with everybody. Fortunately, when I traveled and the terminal that we got had very little people, like literally, I was so blessed because everyone was saying, oh my gosh, you're going to be in there how many hours? I was in there like 10 minutes, literally, I'm not exaggerating. So when we got in, you know, we went through immigration, and people who are on visitors visas or residents or citizens or Americans, they were in a different line, and people who are being filed for were in a different line, and it wasn't much of us. It was like a handful, literally. So when I got to the guy, oh, you can't take any pictures. I took a picture of Dejan, and he's like, no phones, so I couldn't use my phone in that area. He asked me like a few questions, literally like no brainer, and he didn't say much to me, but I heard the other guy telling the other family that, oh, you're gonna get your green card in such time, and your social security number and the number that you're gonna stamp in the passport. Now you could use this number temporarily to do whatever until you get like your official stuff. The guy that dealt with me, he didn't say much. I really didn't care, and he sent us along our way. So we were out there like 10 minutes. When we got to customs, well, of course, when you're on the plane, if you've traveled before, you have to declare whatever you have in your luggage. So I was very honest about what I had. I had like rat poison, rodenticide. I never said rat poison, I said rodenticide. I think I had fish for my sister, cooked fish, and some other stuff. So I said food, rodenticide, and some other thing. And when I got there, they said, do you have anything to declare? And I said rodenticide, food, and whatever else. And they were like, okay, sure, you can go through. Easy breezy. When we got out of the airport, it was cold. It was of course fall, and I suggest you walk with a jacket. Please, people, walk with a jacket when you're coming to the US, unless you're coming in summer, or anything can happen. You don't know what the atmosphere or temperature is going to be like. Wear something thick, because you need to be prepared for whatever is going to happen. So when we got outside so fast. My father was like shocked, because he had to come and pick us up, and he was averaging that, okay, he would be there waiting on us, and we were there waiting on him. So he had to like hurry and come get us, because we were just out there sitting. I mean, we were okay. And in terms of communication, my dad is with T-Mobile, and I actually got my US number and chip and internet, everything, God bless my father, before I came to the US. So everyone's like, how come you're on the internet? Whatever. I had like, I still have it, like roaming data, because of the package that my dad has with T-Mobile. So that is how I was able to communicate with him. I'm sure that the airport must have Wi-Fi. I don't know. I was just using my data plan, and my dad came and got us. After arriving to the US, I got my social security number like literally like a week or two after, and then I think my green card came like a month after, and it was just easy breezy. It wasn't rough. I have to really thank my dad, because he helped me along the way, and he did his part. I didn't have to run. He was running behind me more than how I was running. I wasn't even running behind him. The only thing that I actually hastened him on was the fact that and I should get into this video is really long, but you really need to know these things. At the time, I was transitioning, like I was like trying to get myself sorted out in terms of my finances and just life and everything. Truth be told, if I was like financially stable in a certain way, and when I say financially stable, I'm not saying like, okay, have a regular job. I'm talking about like my finances were there, and I could afford to live in Jamaica, and I could afford a certain lifestyle. I wouldn't have come here. I would have stayed in Jamaica. I wouldn't even want the visa, to be honest. I mean, I'm not being ungrateful or whatever. My father knows how I feel, but this is just me telling you how I feel. I'm just being honest in the video. And but I came, and I'm here, and I came with a plan, and I'm trying to follow through with those plans and so forth. After you come into the country, you will get a document that tells you how you can travel. So you can come and you can leave, but according to what I read and understand, if you stay outside of the country, they're gonna message you and say, what's this sense in accepting a resident visa or having someone file for you and you're not living here? What is it that you're really up to? So this is where I'm at now. Today is actually the 26th of January, and this is my third month. No, this is my fourth month here, and I actually have a vlog. I have a vlogging channel. It's called The Vlogging Truth. So if you want to, you know, follow along with me on my journey here in the US, I vlog a lot. Well, not a lot, but I vlog enough to give you an idea of what I do here while I'm here, and what type of plans I'm up to, and what it is for, and what is life like living in the US. I'm currently in Brooklyn. If you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, I always reply to my messages. Even if I take like 3 months to reply, I always respond. Just leave a description, a link in the description box down below. My next video on topics that, on hot topics or something more to talk about, would definitely be things that you need to know when living in the US as an immigrant or a US resident. You don't want to miss, you do not want to miss that video. So to see that video, the only way that you can see that video is if you subscribe to my channel and ensure you hit that bell that allows you to get notifications from me when I upload new videos, or you'll just have to check back whenever I upload a video. I don't want to promise you and give you a time, but I'll try and get that video up here as soon as possible. Thank you for staying so long with me. I'm looking at the time. This is a long recording, but I try to the best of my ability just to give you a brief synopsis, not brief, but a synopsis of what it is like having to migrate to the US. So this is like a part 1, and then like a part 2, living in the US, you know. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.